Okay, so another day, still working on this mannequin. I had my daughter try on the mannequin. I sewed it all up except for the center front on the bodice and center back on the skirt part, or the bottom half of the mannequin. The top fit her perfectly. Didn't have to do any alterations, nothing. The skirt, I thought I would have to make alterations because the pleats just didn't seem like enough pleating when I was making the pattern pieces, and I was right. I had to fiddle with the side seams and the pleating and adjust it. So I got that done last night and fixed all the pleats and fixed the side seam. And now I am just needing to put the back seam in the skirt, trim up the bottom of the front, because if you can see, the front and the back were not the same size, but when I drew her waistline, the sewing line was the same. So I just need to adjust that, trim it off. So the front seam together and everything was fine. It was a little tight here at the center bust, but I'm like, it's the mannequin. We want it to be her perfect size. So I'm like, no, we just want to leave it. It's not like it's got to go on her. It is her. So yes, it was a little tight, but that's what we wanted. So I'm going to sew up the center front, true up the bottom, sew up the center back on the skirt, and then sew the two pieces together. And I will see you back here after I do that. Okay, so I've sewed up the center front and the center back. Now I'm putting the top to the bottom. Remember, you're going to pin your center front and your center front of skirt and bodice, and then pin from the center to the side seam. And because I fiddled with these side seams so much, they're not matching up, but I think we'll be fine. It's not like it has to be perfect. I don't know if it'll be putting some ease in it or... And then we're going to go center back together and pin around from the center to the side and see where we go. Ooh, there's a lot of ease in that. Gonna make it a pleat. Let's see what I want to do with that. I don't know if I want to do another dart. I probably could have put another dart when I had it on her, because I probably had enough means to do it, but I don't know that I want to do it I think I'm just going to make it a pleat. At the side seam. I think I'm going to pull it all the way over to the side seam. Or should I take the side seam up? I don't want to do that. I'm going to make it a pleat at the side seam. Might look funny, but I think that's what I want to do. it's all one piece now. So now, see, it's all one piece. The center front didn't match perfectly, but I don't want to fiddle with that. So I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to sewing. I'm like, sometimes good enough is good enough. So now I got to fill in. This is where not buying the pattern is going to be difficult. There's the next 3 steps I don't have pattern pieces for, and I don't know really how to make pattern pieces. But I need to put the neck piece on to raise the neck up and make the top center for the neck. And then I need to put the cap sleeves on because I wanted it to come down, and then put the hole for the cap. So here are my sleeve pieces, and I have a marked, I don't have a marked front and back, I just have a marked center. I have the center. And then my neck piece, and I'm not sure why the neck became so scalloped at the bottom, but when I saw the bootstrap patterns, they were the same. So I'm going to leave that, but can't decide if I want to double it to make it taller, because it only is like I think I could make it taller. Not that we would need it taller, but I think it would be handy to have it taller. And then the other piece is the stabilizing inside that holds the pull in when you go to stuff it. And I'm going to start by, I'm going to go ahead and sew this seam because I made 2 pieces. I didn't need to do 2 pieces, but I did it anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this down the top of the neck so I can make it longer, and then cut off the scallop of the top, and then sew the side seams, the back, the center back together, and go from there. Here we go. So I decided to draft a whole new neck piece. Now when you look at the neck, it does drop down in the center of the bodice. It drops down here. My original piece in saran wrap dropped down there too. So I think I'm going to leave the drop down, but then I'm just going to connect it to here where these 2 drop down. I'm just going to leave it like more of a scoop. And then I'm going to straighten these out because this is the length I'm lost, and I cut it off when I sewed it. But I'm going to extend this part to here, and then I'm going to make it longer so I don't have to have that sewing seam and just sew one piece. So Perfect. Okay. This should work. Let's hope. Okay, let's see if it worked this time. I made my new neck. Where did it go? Let's see if this time it'll go around it better. I'm just going to add a strip to the neck that is three inches. So it's 1.25 inches on both sides. So that's 2.5 inches plus seam allowance would be a strip that is 3 inches. Okay, so I added the 3 inches to the neckline and it worked. Now it fits around the neckline. I didn't want to adjust the neckline because it fit her so perfectly. I figure I can increase the neck. Doesn't really matter if the neck is that much bigger, and I probably wrapped the saran wrap a little tight. So I added the 3 inches. I hope I don't regret that in using it in the future for her, but the neckline seemed to just lay so perfectly on her yesterday that I just didn't want to take out any from the neckline. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the neck to the bodice, and then I'm going to have to totally rework the whole circle that I drew to put the padding in for the neck. So that was a little bit of a math excursion. I ended up having to call my engineer son to help me remember how to draw a circumference, to figure out the radius of a circle. So I figured it out. I have my circle drawn. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut the foam out before I attach it. Because here's the neck, which I think is a very wide neck. I think it's wider than what her neck really is. But it fit around the collar, so that's where I'm leaving it. So I'm going to put the circle, I'm going to attach the circle, and then I'm going to cut the foam out, and then I'm going to deal with the sleeve circle. Hi everyone, another day, another time working on my mannequin. I have, as of right now, see here, I sewed on the end caps to the neckline and to the sleeve. Right now I'm working on putting pieces of cardboard in the sleeve, hand stitching it down. So I'll show you the other side. So I've stitched one piece down with my machine. And then I cut the cardboard just a little bit smaller. It's really quite a bit smaller. It's not as big as what it could be, but I wanted to have lots of room for it to turn around and get in there to put all the stuffing in. The cardboard now is, where's the other one? Is in. and I'm hand stitching it down into it. So I'll get you some footage of me hand stitching it down. I hate hand stitching. It's one of my most unfavorite things in the world to do. But here we go. So as you see here, as I'm going through, I don't know how well you can see, I'm doing what's called a back stitch. So you go forward and then you go back and cover it. So that makes it a stronger stitch. And you don't want to make really long stitches. You just want to make short stitches. Okay. And I won't talk you through this. I'm going to go ahead and mute it because hand stitching is very boring. And I'm going to watch some YouTube while I'm doing it. So here we go. Muting you out. Okay. Oh, it's cutting my head off, but this thing is way wiggly. I got a new tripod and I don't know if it's going to work for what I wanted. Anyway, so I got the seams done. I finished hand sewing the arms in. Now I'm going to do what, if you would have bought a bootstrap pattern, would have called the stabilizer, which is a piece of fabric that goes down the front to the back, a fabric in the center that holds your pole into the center and then stabilizes it, so as you are stuffing it, it shouldn't rock so much. But there again, I made my own pattern, so I need to try to figure out how to do this on my own. So I'm going to lower my phone, see if you can see it, grab some paper, and let's see if we can make this. So I think I'm going to need at least 2 pieces of paper wide. Down, curly side up. That's like taping the back side down. Then I'm going to turn the paper over and tape it front side down. So here's the center back. And the center front's not wide enough. The paper's not wide enough. wonder how long it needs to be. Like, it doesn't have to be the full length. Okay. I'm going to put it at a different angle and get another piece of paper. Okay, it's another day. And this is taking me way longer to do than I thought it was. Too much thinking. I need to spend, and I'm not spending very many hours a day sewing. I need to do that if I'm going to get all the projects needed to do for the play. So, this is my piece of paper. That's my pattern for the inner structure. I went from front to back, opened up the seam. Now I'm going to take and make the piece for the piping. So basically, I'm just going to take the center piece out for piping and then add seam allowance to both sides and then cut it out. And I'm cutting it out of a thicker fabric. This is just a scrap piece of fabric that I have. It's an upholstery fabric that's pretty thick. It's not the prettiest of color, so I'm not too worried about using it up because I really think it'll be just inside structure of several things for the next little while. So I'm going to finish cutting the pattern piece out and then cut it out of this fabric. Now the center piece will have to be on a fold at the top of the pole. And then it needs to extend down about 4 inches to come up and stick to the bottom of the dress form at the bottom base that will be there to hold it all together. And at first I wasn't going to make the inner structure because anybody who doesn't use the bootstrap pattern doesn't. But then as I'm watching more and more dress form things on YouTube, I'm deciding I really want it. Mainly because it'll hold the pole in snug and tight. And then if I want to take it off the pole and store it somewhere, it's easily taken off and on, and it's not going to be stuck in all that stuffing if I want to change it out. If I make another mannequin piece and I want to keep the same stand and just move to different mannequins. So I'm going to go ahead and do that because I do really want to make a copy of me this summer. So that way I wouldn't have to have 2 stands. I just have to have the mannequins and switch them. I really doubt I'll have to have both dress forms up at the same time. And with the mannequin that I bought, its top comes off for easier storage too. So that's what I think I'm going to do. Is that. So let's get this piece. I'm going to see if I can get the camera to be in the perfect shape so you can see me make this pattern. Cut this pattern piece out and then cut it out of fabric. So I'm using this neck line up here as my, oh, it's not very straight. Now the bootstrap patterns have like a little No, it's more like this. A little curved piece in there for this top thing, which I don't think I'm going to worry about. I'm just going to cut it off at the neck and leave it there. But I am going to add the 4 inches down there. But I just want to make a straight line. Best part about having these rulers is they have long lines, so you can make straight lines. Maybe that's why they come in, because it would be awful narrow there if you didn't. I think I'm going to do that, because I don't want that narrow of a piece. Now it's starting to make sense to me. I'll have to figure out how to make that line. Okay, I really thought I was doing this straight, and this, I was just going to go the width of the ruler, and that line is not straight. To bottom. So the reason they have this up here, I just figured it out as I was drawing the lines. If you go clear out to this, to the shoulder and make that, that's an awful small piece for structure. So they come in, so just trying to figure out what kind of curve I want on that. Can't even see it. Something that I will be able to see, so I can get that right and cut on the line I want. So as I said, the center piece needs to go on a fold. I'm sure you could do a seam too, but I think the fold would be more secure for, that's the top, that's where the pole is going to sit and put all its weight on. So we want it to be a fold. So this fabric of mine happens to be a scrap, so perfectly that it has only half at this end, half the width. So I'm going to fold it to where it would be long enough. And this was a piece that I don't remember who gave it to me, but somebody gave me this piece of fabric. So it's not like I bought it for anything particular. So it's perfect that I can just use it to make whatever I want out of it. Okay, it's not perfectly on the fold. I'm just trying to get the right the right length. So at that point, I can open it up a little bit easier because there is a partial fold here. So fabric scissors would help here. So I have it laid out. I don't know if you can see it all. Oh, it needs to go this way. Anyways, I have it all laid out. I'm not worried about the fact that this is upside down to this one. The flowers will be upside down. It's inside. No one's going to see it. Also, because it's inside and all my marking pencils, chalk, doesn't seem to show up on this fabric, I'm going to go ahead and use a Sharpie because I will be able to see that. And I do think it's very important to have roughly sew lines on this. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it. Then I'll add my seam allowance, and I probably will just eyeball a seam allowance on this and make it pretty substantial so I have plenty of room to work with. So the next step is I'm taking my pole I guess it doesn't matter if it's wrong side or right side on this pins. And I'm going to just pin the top to where it'd be snug in there. And then I'll just measure that from here to here and draw a line so I have the right, maybe I should just pin it, then take it off and draw the line because it's going to be rounded there. No, that shouldn't have to do that. moment of truth. I got it sewed. Let's see if it goes on. Nice and tight. So that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be tight in there so there wasn't a lot of movement going around. So I hope once it's on the board it's the right height. Because I didn't get huge wheels. I'll have to hope. Because I want it to be, it needs to be shoulder height to Kaylee, which I guess it's shoulder height to me right now. So now to take and put the straight seams onto straight seams here. So this is not so tight. I mean, that's good that it's on tight, but oh. But you want to sandwich it, so okay, I'm going to sew these two and I'll be right back. So I sewed and pressed the two seams together. You can see that there. Now it says to structurally sew some lines here. So I'm going to show you that as I sew it. I got a new tripod that's supposed to help me do this. Let's see if it works. So I'm going to sew the outside seam at 5/8, which is where I have my tape marked here. And then I'll do a bunch of structural seams. Okay, so I have the inner structure all sewed together. I videoed a little bit of the quilting it together. It's kind of boring. I didn't think you'd want to watch all that. The thread somewhere. But I'm not 100% sure why they had you sew all that like quilting. Not really sure. But it is what it is. So now when I watched all those videos from Bootstrap, it says you're going to sew center, and the center front seam, you want to sew it within this extra in the seam allowance. So in here, you're going to sew these two pieces, the seam allowances, together. And I'm trying to use the bigger of the two seam allowances. But where I had a waist, front and back, I hope I'm not. Anyways, so do those sides together. Okay, I finally get to the point where I get to stuff. I'm so excited. So, I filled the neck with foam. It looks kind of wrinkly and funny. All I had was this 1-inch foam, and I must have made this really tall because it took 6 pieces to fill it. So that's kind of crazy. But it's good and firm. It has a bunch of lines in it that you can see the different layers of the foam, but I'm not a perfectionist. That doesn't bother me. So I am going to start to stuff it from the shoulders up. They say it could take like 3 hours to stuff it, so I'm not going to film all the stuffing of it. I'll just show it to you when it's done. I have 3 pounds. It says 50 ounces. So roughly, if you take that divided by 16, that's 3 pounds. I hope it's enough. I'm going to try to stuff as much as I can before I go to town today, because if it's not enough, I can go to a local store in town and get it, or I'll just not be able to finish it till later on, and tomorrow when I hit a Walmart, I can get more. So, I think I will do it here on my table. I'll put the bar in. There's been a few people who say you should do it when it's standing up, but I have a bad back. That is not going to happen. So here we go. I'm going to start stuffing, and I'll show you it when I'm done. Hi there. So I just wanted to catch you up on a few things as I'm stuffing this mannequin. I'm trying to get it really firm, and so I'm really trying to push the stuffing up in there. So to help me keep track of how the measurements are, I put some ribbons around. So this is her upper underarm, upper bust, her bust, waist, or under bust, waist, and then I'm going to do a hip, but I just don't have any padding there yet to worry about. I don't know, I might just leave these ribbons on. They are hand tacked to right here at the center. This one's not though, but so I don't know if I'll leave them there, because I do have markings where, like, I do have a waist seam, and I do have a bust seam, and you know, but these will help me so I can make sure I don't overstuff them, but yet I can get them the firmness that I want, because as you see, that's still not very firm. This one's a little better. This one needs some more, and I'm just pushing this stuffing up without really worrying about the measurements. So I have those, like, there's a lot of gap here to go. I have room here I can go. and push the batting still, push the batting up a little still here and firm this up because I want it, I wish I could get it all as firm as this, but of course that wouldn't work out. So I'm stuffing it full and hoping that everything works out in the end. And if I have enough stuffing, I don't know. We'll find out. Oh, and I also sewed the bottom on. So that is all sewn on with the zippers all ready to go. And then I have the board that'll slide in there when the time comes. I just don't need it in there now. I was stuffing it upright, which did help me get the form enough that I feel like I can lay it down. But there we are.